Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated, where today I'm so thrilled. I've got actress Cara Gee with me. So, welcome, Cara.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so excited.
Thanks for having me. It's great. It's great.
So, I usually start here, so I'll just ask you this way: what made you want to get into entertainment? What kind of caused you to go into showbiz?
Oh, that's such a good question. Okay. Well, I was always interested in a lot of different subjects.
Yeah,
Um, and when I discovered acting, it was something that I could bring all of myself to.
right.
So that was I had actually already applied to a university program for an arts management degree, and I imagined that I would like be a PR woman for a record label. Like I was always very into music, and I was always very into like concerts and live music
Yeah.
and that experience. Um,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of interesting to discover something. I did a play when I was in my final year of high school, and I was like, wait a minute, this is where it's at. But it was and so then I switched what I was going to go to school for, and I went to
Yes.
university and studied acting and worked in theater for years and years and years. I thought theater was going to be the thing, and then film and
Yeah.
TV land just kind of one thing led to another, and now here I am, and
Now here you are.
now here
Do
I am
you
in film and
have do you
TV.
still do theater or do you have plans to do it at some point?
Yeah, I did a play last summer actually.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, which
And
it
lucky you, there wasn't a lot going on last summer.
Oh, I'm sorry. The summer before,
Oh,
the
okay.
last,
Okay.
the last real summer.
The last real summer. Yeah,
the,
we don't count
the
last
summer,
year. That's
we don't count that. No, we had like an audience. It was a thing. So yeah, so I did a play. It was it was such. I think working in theater first was a really great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best training grounds you could ever have. It's
Yeah.
when you have a live audience, it's a whole other beast. So yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah. And when you're doing multiple performances too, so you have to like bring it
mhm.
every day or a couple times a day.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. And there's that, immediate feedback. You have the sense of what the audience feels. There's an energy in the room. It's a conversation. So actually, I think that's something that I try to take with me when I do uh, stuff on camera. That the camera
Yes.
represents the audience, and you have to remember that you are doing this for the person who
That's
is
right.
watching it at
Yeah.
home later. Like I have a respect for that time that people invest in your show. You can't take that for granted.
Yeah, I think that's such a great attitude, and I think those that get that and kind of get that connection with the audience, it helps you in a lot of ways. The interaction with fans, because that's all any of us really want is just that a little moment, just a smile or a hello. That's all any of us want when we run into somebody.
Oh yeah, sure, sure, of course.
Unfortunately, a lot of us fans, we go too far. We want too much, but most of them are
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Do you know what's funny? I think that because because of the character that I play in the Expanse,
Yeah,
and and looking and sounding so different from her, I'm like a little bit incognito. Like no one ever is
yeah.
going to
Well,
be like drummer.
I was gonna
I'll
ask
be
you
like
that
who?
because yeah, obviously your regular voice much different than drummer.
Right?
How did you come up with that? Did they tell you that this is what we're looking for, or did you go in and you're like, this is drummer?
I went in and I was like, this is drummer. Do you know what? It was funny because I joined the show in season 2. So
Yeah,
Jared Harris had established the dialect. And when I went in for my audition, first of all, I loved the show. Like I was a big nerdy fan of season
great
1.
show. Yeah,
Like,
great show.
yeah, great show. So I had to go in like the day before I started working and nerd out over the sets because otherwise I would not have been able to focus on my actual job. Like I
All
loved
right.
the show. Yeah. So when I went into audition, I had I had listened to Jared Harris do his monologue over and over and over and over, and I came in and I did the audition in the Belter dialect, and the casting
Oh,
director was like,
nice.
can you tone it down? And I was like, no, this is what it is. I went
That's
in with
right.
the
This
eye
is it.
makeup too. I went in with
Oh,
the eye
really?
makeup. Yep. I was like,
Yeah,
this is who
she's
she is.
so and harsh isn't the right word, but she's just so kind of in your face, just very
Yeah.
blunt and
Yeah. Yeah. She is.
Uh,
She is.
yeah. Well, so I'm a huge fan of the book. So we had a very high standard set when the show came out, but it's so well done and well casted and acted, and it's just been terrific. So I love it to death. Have you had a chance to read any of the books?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think for me, the more information I have,
Yeah.
the more interesting my choice can be on the day. So reading the books informs everything, and you can take the best parts. And then also, I think you get a sense of tone. You get a sense of the world, and certainly, I mean, I feel so lucky to know Ty and Dan, because I think when
Yeah.
you get to actually like meet and work with the writers, you get a sense of like, especially the humor or where they're coming
Yeah.
from. So yeah, I use all of that.
Yeah,
And
you can tell them they can
especially,
just use their regular names. They don't have to go with a pen name. We don't. We get
too
it.
late. It's too late.
Too late. I know. I know. Yeah, actually, Dan, I've read a lot of his other work. I was a
Oh,
fan of his
that's great.
before he started the Expanse. So he's
Stop it. You're the coolest one.
yeah.
Look at you. Okay, you win.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm pretty nerdy. I mean, look at this background. You'd have a tough time beating me out.
Yeah.
That's why I'd be a
Right.
terrible actor, because I'd end up just disrupting the set if I was on set.
Just like taking pictures.
I was just getting. I have to have selfies with everybody. They're like, "Who is
I
he?"
mean, it's true. It's true.
So you've had this season has been really interesting because you've had a big role in the fifth season, and
Yeah.
it's allowed us to kind of see the behind the scenes a little bit with your character. She's in this kind of, I don't even know what you call it. It's like I don't know. It's like a group, but it's like polyamorous or something. It's a
That's
very
exactly it.
it's a very interesting group, and I think that's been one of the best parts of the show is just seeing how all of you interact with each other.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was super important to all of us to represent that sort of like a polyamorous relationship with respect
Yes.
and dignity,
Yeah.
and to imagine, what just imagine what the future could hold, and
Right.
to represent sort of that like that relationship and in all of its queer glory,
Yeah.
that was really, really, really important to us
Yeah.
to get that right, and to do that respectfully and with love and humor and joy.
Yeah.
And I'm
And
so glad they let us do that. It was so
yeah,
cool.
you totally did it too. I mean, it really comes across, well. It's one of those that it doesn't seem out of place, which means you're doing
Yeah.
a really good job with it. And
Thank
it's
you.
just, you just kind of accept it. When you're watching it, you just accept that that's your family dynamic and you just go with it, which that means it's really well done.
Thank you. I feel like it's actually extremely subversive to it's such a radical idea, and to
Yeah.
just like put it out there and be like, this is how it is.
Yeah.
And
You're
let people
normalizing it.
and let people sort of just like feel that vibe and be with it. And I think I think science fiction can often is responsible for pushing those boundaries, and I'm thrilled that this show does that.
I know it's been the best. Well, and so you were also pregnant for part of the filming, is that right, for season 5?
For all of it.
Yeah. How did you do that?
So pregnant, man. I don't know. We because we shot it in a condensed time frame too. We shot all of my stuff like back to back to back to back, these like really long and grueling days, which was ultimately like extremely supportive of the production to
Right. Yeah.
They to work things around my pregnancy, and I was extremely well supported the whole
Oh,
time.
that's awesome.
It was awesome. It's great. It's
Yeah.
the way it should be. And it breaks my heart to think that there are women in this industry who do not experience that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
awful.
way it should be. And you know, I feel really proud of the work that I did, and I had to really step it up, especially as a leader in that polyamorous family.
That's right.
A new cast, and it was kind of neat because I feel like we were doing these really grueling days, and the helmets are like a nightmare, and it's really physical, and it was sort of like if I wasn't complaining, nobody could complain.
That's right. You better
I'm
keep
like
it
8 months
quiet.
pregnant. Yeah, like, oh, I'm sorry, your feet hurt. Like, no, you sit down. And no one was like that. Everyone was a joy. But I do think that I was really proud of what I was able to accomplish, for sure.
Yeah, good for you. And did they think at all? Was there ever a thought to just include the pregnancy into the show?
I think that it would not have the timeline.
Yeah, it
wouldn't
wouldn't
have
have fit.
worked out.
Yeah, I don't think
it would
so.
have been like, wait, when did she get pregnant? And has she been pregnant for like what was the time that elapsed over the course of, I think it would not have worked. But definitely I had a really great stunt double, and the VFX team like I look just like svelte the whole time, and I'm like, now that I know you can do that,
yeah, right.
I'll be at the craft table. Like, what? Are you serious? You can just like VFX? Okay.
Well, yeah. So I didn't know, and I read something. Maybe I don't know, a few episodes into the new season when I found out that you were pregnant. So I've been watching. You can't tell.
No, there's like a few moments where I know, and I know you can kind of like, but I feel like between the VFX and the costuming and how we shot stuff, but like, I don't know, it's neat. I think it's pretty incredible that we were able to do that.
Yeah.
I had a maternity gun belt.
Well, you got to have that.
I mean, drummer's hardcore.
So we've got one more season coming.
We do.
I think I saw that, right? Season 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. I mean, I was so down when it looked like it was going to end after a couple of seasons on the Sci-Fi Network. And then Amazon stepped in. I was like, whoo, because there was so much more story to tell.
I know. It's wild to think of the journey we've been on. I mean, I remember, okay, so here's something that is completely bonkers. Keon, who plays Marco, has been a dear friend of mine for like 10 years.
Oh, nice.
The night that Dominique got the phone call that the show had been canceled, I happened to be at dinner with her and with my friend Keon. So Dom was like, oh, the show's canceled. And this is obviously years ago, years before Keon ever auditioned for the show. So he was actually present with us, consoling us that the show had been canceled.
That's a great story.
And then, years later, he's Marco.
And he's awesome as Marco, too.
He's great.
Yeah. I mean, he fits, when you read the books, you always come up with what you think the character should look like and act like. And he does a really good job.
He's great. He's a great actor. And a great
friend. It's a well-casted show.
I know, right? It is. Everybody's amazing. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, it's probably my favorite sci-fi series. But the show, absolutely, and that's saying somebody that Star Trek fan and all the good ones, Farscape, Babylon 5, all that stuff. It's right up there with everything else. It's so well done, and I'm sure that they have tried to do it justice for the fans. They had to know what they had after the first year or so.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's such a committed group of people. Like, it's the only project I've ever been a part of where all of the actors get together in our spare time and rehearse. Like, we have our read-throughs on the weekends. Yeah, Like that doesn't
Oh, that's so
happen.
neat. No, that
But
never
we're
happened.
all nerds. We're
Yeah.
all nerds.
See, I know that's what I've heard about this cast. I was really hoping because part of what we do with this show is my son and I we travel around and do press for the conventions and stuff, and we had this all mapped out last year, and then it all got knocked away. We were so excited because the Expanse that was on our list. We're like, we got to meet some of that cast.
Yeah. Well, hopefully by the time season 6 comes out, the world will be a bit more back to normal.
Yeah, it will. It will. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So the other, I could talk to you about Expanse forever, but I got a couple other things. So I got to come up with that.
Okay.
So when I was growing up, one of my favorite authors was Jack London. And then and one of my favorite actors was Harrison Ford. And then I saw Harrison Ford coming out with Call of the Wild.
Right.
And you were in it too.
I was in it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I show up.
I know. And you were so good in it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that was such a different character from Drummer.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah. It was great. That was such an amazing project to be a part of. It was so great. What a dream.
Did you know that story before you worked on the film?
Yes, but I went through the Canadian school system, so we didn't study it the way that I know a lot of places in America do. So, but I was certainly familiar with it, and I read it again, obviously, in preparation for the role. But can you imagine? Be like, oh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful story, and I think that the way that, Chris Sanders, who directed it, I think, just he has such a magical point of view, and I think he really captures that essence of what Buck is going through, and we really are able to go on that journey with him. I cried, like at the premiere, I was like crying.
I know. I took my dad. We were both teary-eyed when we watched it.
Oh, that's great.
It's a really good family movie.
Yes.
It's really
good.
Yes.
I know. I think it's going to be something that just lives on and on. I was so glad to get to have all of my scenes were with my friend Omar C, who also is just like, do I get to work with the best people ever or what? And he's such a dream. He is as nice and as charming as you would hope that he is.
Really?
He's so nice. We just laughed all day. We laughed all day long. All day. The whole shoot was just us laughing all the time. It was so great.
Yeah, that's terrific. I'm not really surprised. He just, you can listen to some people give interviews and you just kind of know, whether or not you're like, oh, that seems like a good guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you get to work with Harrison a little bit too?
Yes, yeah, a little bit. We had the sort of that's the, like, Omar and I are the middle part of the book, and then of course Harrison is the end of the book. So we have that overlap where Buck crosses from sort of us to Harrison, and we got to work together. He's a sweetheart. He's so good at acting.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's amazing. He's getting older now, but you can't really tell.
I mean, it was so, I remember watching him, was like every single thing he said, and you read it and you think maybe this is like a throwaway or like not that important, but then he says it and it's like the most important thing that's ever been said. It's like, oh, okay, that's the deal. That's the deal. That's what, that it was so inspiring to see how he did that, have a front row seat for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing right there, just to get to, it's like a master's class.
Yeah. And he's kind, and he's so kind and like cool.
Yeah. I would have enjoyed that one. That'd have been pretty fun. But it was such a good movie. We had before COVID, every Wednesday night, all the men in the family would go to the movies. That was so it'd be me and my sons and my dad and the son-in-laws, all that. We'd all go every Wednesday and go to the movie. So
Cool.
of all the ones we got to see, which I think was
Right.
probably a year before last, Call of the Wild was one of our favorites.
It was right before COVID. We did our premiere 1 year ago this past weekend.
So it was in February.
Yeah, I walked the red carpet 9 months pregnant.
Poor thing.
I was the last person to leave the party too. Me and my crew, we stayed at that after party till the end. The security were like, "What?" Like, I was a 9 month pregnant woman. I was like, "Yeah,
soak it up."
Right? I was like, "This is it. This is it for parties for me. So let's do it." No, it's great. It was funny though. It is funny to go to, like, you're looking for a dress for a red carpet premiere and to talk to a stylist and be like, "I need something in extreme maternity, but red carpet." She delivered. I got a cool dress.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Wow.
I think the first thing I remember seeing you in was and it should have had more seasons, but was the Western.
Strange Empire. Thank
You played such a badass in that. It was so good.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed it didn't get to season 2 because it deserved it.
Thank you. It was disappointing. You know what? I think it was just a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I think to have like a Western led by a Native woman and with such a diverse cast, you know, looking at like all of the people who were present at that time in history, but whose stories we never get to hear, you know, whether that's like the mixed race woman who runs the brothel or Terry Chen, you know, leading, you know, the Chinese workers in the mine. And it was too much for CBC.
I know.
They just weren't ready for it.
Season 2 needs to come out now. Now it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
It's a little late.
It's a little late.
Oh.
The gentleman who played Jeremiah Loving, Kat Loving's husband, I married him in real life.
No, you didn't.
I did. He's my husband.
Oh, that's the best thing I've heard all day. Well, congratulations.
His name is Richard de Klerk, and he is, isn't it funny? The very first thing he ever said to me was in the makeup trailer, beginning of the day when we first worked together. And he said, "Are you Cara?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Do you want to get married?" And I said, "Yeah, I think later on today," because that was our first day, was shooting our wedding scene. And
see, I got big respect.
Years later.
He knew. He may not have known he knew, but somewhere in there he knew.
Isn't that funny? Funny? So yeah, Lori, the showrunner, is like, "That's the best thing to come out of that show."
Yeah, that's awesome. You even had a cool Western, Kat Loving. I mean, that's a great Western name.
I know. When I got to learn to ride, like I got to, I miss my horse from that show so much. It was, you develop such a bond, of course, over that many months of shooting, and missed that horse so much.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I meant to ask you on Call of the Wild, did you get dog time? Did you get to play with the dogs?
No, there were no dogs. There were no dogs.
Disappointing.
And cutouts, and like we had to just pretend the whole time that there were dogs. There were no dogs.
You really did a good job acting.
Thank you. It was a challenge. We were in a studio on a blue screen. We had Terry Notary did motion capture for it, so you know, we got to work with him, and he's amazing. He's such a beautiful, beautiful actor, and he embodied Buck. Like, he was so believable. But
sure.
There were no dogs. It's crazy. There was no snow. There was no sled. There was no. I'm like, what was there actually? Like, we were in the desert in Santa Clarita. There was nothing.
You couldn't even go to a cold climate and film some scenes.
I know. No, we're in the middle of a hot desert. It was acting like it's cold.
That's funny. What right? Can you still ride?
Yeah.
You still ride a horse?
Oh yes. I haven't in a while, but I definitely could. It felt so I really took to it. It was something that I really enjoyed a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I've ridden a horse, but I would not say that I could ride. I have done.
Like, I wouldn't go to like, I wouldn't be like jumping stuff or like.
Well, maybe if it went to season 2, maybe
Going to season 2, I would be
you
looking at
could
the
have
Olympics.
done it then.
Yeah. Yeah. No, do you know what? For TV shows, they use like they get the most calm horse. Like I had the
Yeah.
calmest, chillest horse, right? Jazzway was his name. And it's so funny though, because sometimes like you're on the horse and you got a really serious scene, you gotta like shoot your gun, and Jazzway would just be like, and I'd have to give him a little tug, a little like, so he'd like at least look up when I was shooting a gun, so it didn't
Yeah.
look like
Act interested.
act like something serious is going on, Jazzway. Come on. That was a little trick. A little trick. You'd have to kind of just get their attention.
I've been watching this weird show called Letterkenny, and
oh my god,
darn if you didn't show up on that for
I'm
an
everywhere.
episode.
I'm everywhere. That was so goofy. It's such a
I don't even know how to describe that show. That show's a little kooky.
Kookie's a good word.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, it is very authentic though. Like that, like rural Canadian. I grew up in a really rural place.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I had to look it up. I'm like, where are they? When I was watching it, when I first started watching it, we were looking for stuff to watch over the, the pandemic. And I figured out it was in Canada, and I knew you had grown up there, so I was curious if that was legit. Yeah. Is that pretty authentic?
I mean, it's extremely authentic. It is extremely authentic, down to like the groups, like the hockey bros, like that is. I'm like, the goths, all that. It is painfully authentic.
Yeah.
Another reason I moved to Los Angeles. I'm proud enough of that. Growing up in a small town.
So do you, when you were growing up, did you do other artistic things? Did you play an instrument or sing in chorus, anything like that?
No, there wasn't much of that going on in the small town where I was from. Do you know what I did? This is like the ultimate nerdy, like, this is extremely nerdy. I participated every year in the Royal Canadian Legion's public speaking contest.
No, you didn't.
I did. And that
I would have just killed over dead. I was such a nervous wreck back then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looking back, I'm like, oh, like it makes so much sense that I would become an actor. Like that skill set is like the same.
Well, yeah. So what does that entail? Give me an idea of what you would be doing.
You would write a speech, and then you would share, and there were sort of like different levels of competition. Like first, everyone in school at Bobcaygeon Public School would write their speech in their class, and then the class would vote on like who won for the class, and then you would go to the gym, and then you compete against other classes and other grades, and whoever won the gym got to go on to like the town. There was only one school though, so I guess it was like the region, whatever the next region up was. We compete against the rival schools, and then whoever won that went on to the next level, and that top level was the provincial level, and I went to the provincial level.
Ooh, that's very good. Do you remember your speeches that got you there?
Like not word for word.
I mean, do you know what they were about though?
Yeah. I actually did one, and of course, this is the one that went on, but it was a speech about respecting our elders. So of course the Legion, like that's like, oh yeah, right, like but of course. But just sort of, it's interesting because I think, I mean, culturally, I'm Ojibwe, and that's First Nations. That a respect for elders is something that is just like very much woven into the fabric of my culture.
Yeah.
And so to be able to sort of speak to that, and the Legion, they host all of the Remembrance Day, ceremonies, and lest we forget is, a big part of their mandate. And so being able to sort of speak to that and look at like learning from generations past and speaking to the importance of that, I think I was bringing something of myself and my culture to that, really. And
Yeah, that's pretty
so
awesome.
it resonated. Yeah, it was kind of neat. It's neat to think about now. I was like
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, I mean especially at a young age. That's commendable. That's really pretty awesome. I like that. Do you think about that with your acting choices? Whether or not you get a chance to kind of play that role where it's kind of a positive role model.
Yes, it is a core of what I do.
Yeah.
It's extremely, extremely important. Actually, I was so thrilled to be a part of Call of the Wild for that reason, because they took two characters who in the book are, French Canadian white men,
Right.
and they cast me and Omar, which I think is amazing because there were Indigenous people dog sledding. They invented dog sledding.
Of course.
So of course, to have an Indigenous woman do that, and to have a Black man, there were Black people there. We just never see them represented in these stories. So to be able to do that, I think, and without it being about that.
Well, I mean, honestly,
so
I think it just made it more authentic. It made the story more real. I thought it worked really well.
Thank you. And I think that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. And with the Expanse, I think it's really great to imagine an Ojibwe woman living 200 years into the future.
Yeah.
Like that is we're still there. So many people think of Native people as being already gone. We're almost like mythical figures or mascots. But we're here and we're real.
Yeah.
We're,
Yeah, you're kind of underrepresented though. So that's really cool.
Big time. Well, and that's why it's so, another really amazing part of being on the Expanse is that there's myself and there's Frankie Adams, and she's Samoan and an Indigenous woman from a different place. To have two Indigenous women in leading roles like that, we're the only show that has that.
Yeah, I know. If you anybody else in the role of Bobby would not have worked. Now that we've seen her Bobby, I mean, she is perfect in that role. So
I know.
good.
And can you imagine, like, the books? Like, okay, we need to find 6 foot tall Samoan powerhouse who can act the shit out of this role.
Yeah.
And then like Frankie Adams shows up. Can you imagine just being like, like
you wouldn't even need to hear her speak. I mean, you'd be like, it's yours.
Right? Like, oh, it's you. Oh, it's Bobby. And then she's like so badass.
Yeah.
That's
she's really good.
People can pull that off.
No. She next to you, she's our favorite.
Great. Good.
Number 2 is the best she can do, but that's still pretty good.
Solid number 2. That's great. That's great. No, she's amazing. I love her too. She's
yeah. Just looking at the female actors on the show, all of them are good. Even the smaller roles, really strong. Yeah, it's just so well done with that, and that had to be fun. Just being in that type of cast,
Oh yeah. Well, it is great. It is also like, sometimes I'm like, I'm on a different show. Like I'm always off by myself. I was so great to work with David, but we were on our own show. You know what I mean? We're like, we don't see any. I didn't meet Showray until the wrap party of season 2.
Really?
Well, like we don't have any scenes together. We're never in the same world at all. I must say, when we got the script for season 4 and everybody was on Illis, and the first thing that Drummer says in like episode 1 is like, I'm never going to a planet. I was like, yes, because they shot that outside in the winter time.
Yeah, but it was cold.
No, get out of here. Yeah. So I was like,
we already know you don't go to the cold climates. You're doing Call of the Wild in the desert. We know.
That's right. I know. So, yeah.
I miss David's character on there.
Me too.
Yeah.
That was hard saying goodbye to that character and to him. Like
Well, yeah. Talk about a good actor. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's wonderful and a
Yeah.
wonderful person, a truly wonderful person.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. Yeah, I've admired him for many years. He's been doing it for a little while.
And talk about humble. When we were shooting one day, my parents came to visit set. They love the show. My mom reads the books. Like they were
Oh, nice.
so
Way to go,
excited.
Mom.
Yeah, they're really, really, really into it. So they came to visit set, and they were sitting in their chairs watching everything. And David came around with a tray of cookies. He brought them from the craft table.
Oh,
Like, here you go, Mr. and Mrs. G. It's like the sweetest. That's the kind of guy he is, in case you're wondering.
well, I bet they love him.
Yeah, for sure.
Was your mom upset when they got rid of him? Was she mad? I bet she was mad.
She appreciates the story so much. So no, she doesn't. She's like, she respects the story.
That's right. You got to respect the story.
That's right. I know. It was so funny because Keon texted me as season 5 was coming out, and he was like, "Is your mom mad at me?" No, Keon. She knows it's not real.
That's right. She knows it's not real. I think his character is so interesting because it makes you kind of think, because you look at Marco as kind of the bad guy in a way, but if you compare it to, I mean, how many times have we seen people take over countries and they commit all of these kind of bad acts, let's say, to get there? What makes them, is it worth it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you end up establishing a country, is that worth what you had to do to get there? I guess there we go.
I could not be more thrilled that is what that makes you think, because as a native person especially, it's like, hang on a minute, like, if you, how many countries are founded on what could be considered terrorist acts, depending
all of them
on what exactly. So it is, I think it is, that's what I love about the show, is it makes you think about that stuff and question and then wonder about what how could we do it differently? How can we change things? How can we, there's so many different ways to organize ourselves and to look after each other and to exist as a society.
Yeah.
I think that being able to look back at ourselves helps you sort of reframe and go like, okay. And I think the pandemic has done that too, actually, where you
agree.
like, wait a minute, all the things that I thought were important, are shifting a little bit. And of course, with the Black Lives Matter movement, erupting this past summer, I think that all of that is happening at the same time for a reason.
That's right. I agree. Yeah, I completely agree. And for a positive reason, I think it's going to make, it's going to, in the long run, it's going to make things better.
I think so. Very much so.
Don't you think when I watched The Expanse, and same thing when I was reading the books, there's all of this kind of bad stuff happening. There's all this bad stuff happening, but underneath all of it is like, it's hopeful. I always get that feeling with it. It's kind of hopeful underneath all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I feel that way because I think that it is about what is possible, and it makes you think about what is possible, and because there are so many different viewpoints that make sense. Avasarala makes sense.
Yes.
Marco makes sense, and there's this ache of humanity underneath it all, that we're good, but but we just got shit to figure out.
We got stuff to figure out. I thought it was so interesting because it kind of takes that premise with belters and people living on Mars and all this, and if that actually happened on Earth, where we sent people to space and then they ended up colonizing up there somewhere, I could totally see this happening that way. You'd end up, instead of one people, you'd end up divided. I could totally see that happening. That's not a good thing.
Nature. It's our nature. I know. Yeah.
I like the all the things that the show does with gravity or the lack of gravity. So you've got the belters are always very thin and, you know, kind of stretched out.
Yeah. I always am like, act tall.
Yeah, stand tall, stand tall. So do you have, is there a genre that you haven't done that you would like to do?
Stoner comedy.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I could see that.
Put me in a stoner comedy. That's my dream. Like, Seth Rogen, call me up. I'm ready.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that. You could do that.
I would have so much fun.
Yeah. Seth Rogen. Well, get ready when this interview airs. The phone will be, I'd say ringing off the hook, but there's no hooks anymore. But
there's no hooks anymore. I'll just push a button and be like, Seth?
How
are those
you see the interview?
Coming? That's it.
Oh shoot. Well, Cara, thank you so much. This has been just a blast. I'm so happy you made a little bit of time for me. I was.
I'm
just
so happy that you asked.
Yeah,
of course. Great talking with you. Yeah, for sure. Well, I hope you enjoy season 6 when it comes.
I can't wait. You have to come back. You got to come back when you can talk a little bit about season 6. It's a little early yet. I got a pretty good idea what we're in store for, but I don't want to give nothing away. So you gotta wait. And I'm sure there'll be surprises. Yeah. That's the fun part.
That's the best. Yeah, it was such a pleasure chatting with you.
Well, thank you so much. But before I let you go, is there anything else that you've been working on that we can keep an eye out for you in?
Oh boy, I am going to be shooting a film called Levels. Right now, it's called Levels. These things change. Who knows? I'll be shooting it maybe this summer, so it's not going to come out for a long time. But keep an eye out.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Last thing, where can we find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter.
Okay.
My handle is Cara Gee with 5 E's. So stupid.
5 E's. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
No Instagram. I thought everybody did the Instagram now.
I know. I feel like all instantly regretted joining Twitter. Like, I'm just so bad at it. So I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like there's a generation where or maybe it's not even a generational thing. Like, there are people who can interact with their phones and it's like a seamless sort of like expression of themselves. Whereas I am always like, like I always
it's a younger generation.
I'm bad at it. Yeah, I don't know. But so
I'm always behind. It took me forever to get Facebook and then Twitter and then now I've got Instagram and now everybody's doing this TikTok thing and I'm like, I'm never going to get that.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't
even really know.
It's a lot of ridiculousness is what it is. It's crazy. There you go. Now I sound like the granddad that I am.
Yeah. We're old. Yeah, that's all good. It's all good.
All right, Cara, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna hit pause. Cara Gee, and she was just terrific. I really, really enjoyed that. I'm so lucky to get a chance to speak to such talented people several times a week. And she has definitely been on my bucket list to talk to. I absolutely love her in the Expanse, and in a few other things. She's really talented, and it's so neat hearing her speak in her normal voice because it's such a different from her character on the Expanse. So that was a lot of fun. She was terrific. That was great. I know I'm stammering now because now the fan's coming out. I was like, whoo, got through the interview, but now, whoo, that was fun. Okay, so thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. You keep coming back. I'm so appreciative. Do not take that for granted. So really, really do appreciate that. If you haven't done so, please go to YouTube, MeisterCon Pod, and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. You can check us out on our website, meistercon.com. We have all of our 200 plus episodes on there, video and audio, so you can check that out. We have just a ton of terrific interviews. I want Cara's the best because she's going to be number one now, but there's a lot of them vying for number two. So check those out. Okay, so thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time. Bye, everybody.